my name is Annie Liu. I'm one of the UTAs for KN 251. Today we'll be focusing on the muscles of the forearm in the anterior compartment of both the superficial layer and the deep layer. So if you have any more questions, please reach out, and I put my email right there. So yeah. Alright, so let's first start off with the muscles in the superficial layer of the anterior compartment. And just a quick way that I remember, anterior is where you can see the palms, so the double A. So going medially to laterally, and oh yeah, just to note that this is actually the left forearm, okay? So this is actually where the thumb is, right here. All right, this is where the thumb is, and then this is where the pinky is, all right? So going from medially to laterally, we have the flexor carpi ulnaris in the green, and then we have the palmar longus in the yellow, then we have the flexor carpi radialis in the pink, and then the pronator teres in the blue, and then finally we have the brachioradialis, which is right here. All right. Now, it just seems like a lot of unfamiliar words, but the names actually have a lot of clues to where they're located. So let's first start off with the brachioradialis, so right here in the red. And this is the biggest muscle, and I'm just going to write out the word biggest, okay? This is the biggest muscle in the superficial compartment, and it's basically over the radius bone. And as you remember, the radius bone is closest to the thumb. And with the name of brachioradialis, you see that it has the word radialis, and you could think of that almost as a radius. And again, you could think of the word biggest, so that starts with a B, and with brachioradialis, which also starts with a B. I'm going to just write brachio for now. So this was just how I remembered on where the location was for the brachioradialis. Now, let's actually move on to the flexor carpi radialis. Now, for flexor carpi radialis, you see the name radialis. And again, that can give you a clue that the radius may have something to do with this. If you look at the insertion point, which is right over here for the flexor carpi radialis, and it's in the hot pink, okay? I'll circle that with the red. You see that the insertion's actually closest to the thumb, or the radius as well. Alright, so now let's actually move on to the palmaris longus. Alright, so that's the one that's highlighted in yellow. So here's actually a better picture that can give you a better image of what the palmaris longus actually looks like. So let's first actually look at the name, palmaris longus. And when I see the word palmaris, I immediately think about the palm of the hand. And what's so cool about this is, oh yeah, this is letter D, by the way, right here. So so it's this one right here, okay? All right, what's so cool about it is the fact that it spans towards digits 2 to 5, right? It spans all the way towards this, and it kind of covers the palm, right? So I think that this one just makes sense for the naming. So now let's actually take a look at the very last one, the flexor carpi ulnaris. And for this one, it actually inserts near your pinky, all right? So this portion is where the pinky is, all right? So it inserts near the pinky, and if we think about it, ulnaris, ulna. And we know that the ulna is closest to the pinky. So here's a really cool trick that I learned that was really helpful just so that you don't get confused with the actual placement of the muscles. So this is a trick to remember the 4 other positions. If you take your left arm and put your right hand over like, I'll be showing it, like this, it alternates as PFPF. And I'll highlight what I mean by PFPF. So PFPF. And as long as you remember on which finger is what in terms of like your index finger is pronator teres, your pinky finger is going to be the flexor carpi ulnaris. It's a really good way to prevent getting confused just because sometimes, you might mess up on the muscle placements. So yeah. So now let's actually move on to the deep layer of the anterior compartment. So we have 3 main muscles to focus on, which isn't too bad. So going from medial to lateral, we actually have the flexor digitorum profundus, and then we have the flexor pollicis longus, and then finally we have the pronator quadratus in the green. So let's first start off with the flexor digitorum profundus, and that's the one in the blue. I actually think about the digits when I look at the word digitorium, and it actually makes a lot of sense for that. So the flexor digitorum profundus actually travels all the way down to the ends of the digits if you look at it right here. So relating these two words is really useful to kind of determine the location of this muscle group. So the next one that we'll be covering is actually the flexor pollicis longus in the orange or red color. And for this one, let's actually take a look at the word pollicis. Remember that pollex is also the meaning for thumb? I relate the word pollicis to pollex, which is where the flexor pollicis longus actually inserts to, right here. So let me show you. All right. So it inserts to right here, which is pretty close to where the thumb is. And finally, we have the pronator quadratus. So this is the one that in green. And if you look at the way the striations work, it's actually going horizontally. I also think that this muscle looks really unique just because it looks kind of like a block or a square. And you could relate this to quadratus because quad also means four, like the size of the square. But honestly, the way that I remembered it was just that this muscle was just really different from the other two. And the names are also really not that similar. Thank you so much for watching and study hard.